Alright guys, I'm here with my friend Laura and we're literally going to be talking through a lot of different concepts. Dating, relationships, how that deals with meditation, and how you can go out and have really good results when it comes to dating. Also Laura's perspectives on that, and we're going to be going for a whole lot and we're going to start it right now. So first of all, when it comes to your experience with dating, relationships, guys and stuff, what has it been like so far? And have you had any negative experiences, any really positive experiences, and what's been the whole shebang?
Well, I mean, honestly, I haven't had that many dating experiences. I haven't really had many guys approach me, so that kind of limited the interaction. I've been on one date, and that was pretty recent. I was in lockdown. It was set up by a friend, so it was like a blind date kind of thing. We just went on a walk. He was very nice, but from the start I knew it was more just friends. But he was very friendly, very talkative, which I liked. On a date, you never want a guy who just stands there and doesn't ask anything. But afterwards he was he messaged me on Instagram, because that's how we started, and he asked me if I wanted to do it again. I was like, yeah, I'd love to as friends. And after that he didn't respond. And whenever I see him around, because he's from the uni, he just stares in the other direction and blanks me, even if I say hi to him. So I've kind of left that. If he wants to be immature, then go ahead. I think that's a wrong way to take it, but that just shows that he's probably not ready for a relationship.
That's really and
but yeah,
two things I kind of picked up from that. So the kind of two things I picked up from that was, first of all, I'm kind of surprised you haven't had that many guys approach you. It is quite a big of a surprise. Why do you think that is? My account would just be that guys maybe kind of fearful when it comes to approaching. Maybe it would be on the street. I know that you're not a massive party girl, so most guys would maybe do it in that kind of situation. Do you think that's maybe why? Because you don't go out to those kind of venues and guys are kind of fearful to do it, maybe if they see you at a coffee shop or somewhere that you would hang out? Do you think that maybe is the reason why?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I feel like I've been quite closed with guys, because I didn't really have that many experiences in school with them. From the start, I was in a private school where there were no boys, and then I mean in the second half of primary school, it was dating someone for a week or something. All of the silly little relationships. And then secondary school, I don't know, I guess I kind of just stayed in my comfort zone. I didn't really venture out to try and grab guys' attention. I've always been quite like that. I don't really like the attention, so I feel like maybe I haven't put out the vibe too early on. I mean, I don't know what vibe I need to put out. But yeah, maybe that's why I've been trying recently to be a bit more social and do go out to parties and things like that. But I also don't want to attract the party guys and the guys that are just looking for, having fun. Whereas I would be wanting to get to know them.
More of a connection.
Yeah, but I guess, I don't know, the fact that guys haven't approached me does always make me second guess myself and be oh, what am I doing wrong? Am I not good enough? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
I've had actually, because obviously I speak to you and a lot of different girls that I'm friends with, but also a lot of just girls that I've met normally. And one of the things I found, it's with beautiful girls and girls with really cool personalities, especially when I meet them, and maybe they're just friends or maybe it's something more. But what I found, and it's weird, especially here in the UK, I don't know if this is much of a problem in places like the US, America, but they're just not approached or given opportunities to meet guys. Unless they're really party girls, they're going to clubs, they're going to lots of bars. Obviously that's not happening as much with COVID anyway. I usually find that these kind of girls just aren't approached. I've got an amazing friend, Phoebe. We did actually an interview the other day. We did it through Zoom because she's not living where I am right now. And she was like, yeah, guys just don't approach. And it's these beautiful girls who get maybe tons of likes on Instagram, these kind of things, especially if they're posting a lot, or if they're posting a type of photo. But the guys just don't approach, or maybe I'll try and slide into DMs or do stuff like that, but they won't approach in person. And then a lot of girls that I've met could feel like, well, what am I doing wrong? And usually in that situation, or at least in my opinion, I think it's because there's that fear and that kind of, when it comes to society, this weird thing that guys just shouldn't approach. There's kind of a fear that if they did approach, they'd be called weird or be rejected. But I think it's much more about doing it the right way. And one thing I am curious, you said when you went on the date, you just instantly knew that it was a friend rather than anything else. Why do you think that was?
I mean, I don't have like a type in guys, but I feel like it was, I don't know, I pick up on people's auras quite easily. So sometimes, like, obviously, feelings can change if you go on multiple dates, but I could just tell that he was someone I'd rather just be friends with. Mainly, like, I don't know, just the way how do I put it? I don't know.
The energy?
Yeah, he was very friendly, but it just wasn't the type of energy I was looking for in a relationship.
Yeah.
And he was just, I don't know. I mean, you can edit this out if it sounds quite rude, but I don't know, he just seemed a lot more feminine in the way he was talking.
Yeah.
Like, in a guy, I do want some feminine aspects, but I do want
polarity.
Yeah, I want to see like that he is masculine as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
Which I didn't really get that from him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One of the things that I've been really interested in recently when it comes to meditation, going deeper in that, is a lot of guys are very disconnected from this idea of energy, right? I was talking to a lot of guys, and even when it comes up, we're like, oh, it sounds kind of funny just because you don't understand it. However, when you speak to girls, especially feminine girls, the idea of energy is just normal. It's like, oh yeah, she had a good energy. But guys just don't understand that because they don't feel it. Just because guys are more in the head, more logical, on a general scale. Some guys aren't, some guys are more so. But one of the weird things I found is when you have the right energy, it doesn't matter what you say. And this is what I always say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that's why doing things such as meditation, you get to that grounded state and get to that kind of masculine energy. It can really come off well, and you can avoid being put in the friend zone and kind of putting off that feminine energy. Because at the end of the day, there does need to be that kind of polarity, masculine, feminine. That's why it works. Even in same-sex couples, you see with like the kind of more masculine woman, men with more feminine woman, more masculine guy, more feminine guy, and it's about having that polarity that is really, really important. And I think when you said on your date, but you kind of just felt it, and there was an energy. And with girls, I hear this all the time, like the energy wasn't right, or it felt this way, or it felt that way. It's never like a logical thing. It's never what they said or how it dressed. And a lot of guys, when they're trying to get better or improve their dating life, what do they focus on? They kind of focus on looks. They focus on like some like cool fragrance or some like nice top, which is nice. It's kind of cool, but it doesn't actually change the results you get. The real thing that I think you can do to do that is change your energy, so that what I often found with a few more feminine guys, and this isn't for everyone, some guys are just naturally more feminine, but some guys usually they have like a masculine essence, but they delve into the feminine bit because they're kind of maybe insecurity, these kind of things that come up. However, when you fix this stuff and you let go of that, it actually allows you to just be in that kind of masculine energy naturally. Obviously have some feminine qualities and delve into that a little bit, but have that like groundedness and kind of unreactivity that I think is quite attractive, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's different for you, but what has your experience been with like guys not understanding this kind of energy aspect?
I mean, I haven't had that many like guy friends, so I can't really speak from their perspective, but I mean in school, like a lot of the guys were trying to be super masculine, and that just came across as really cocky.
Yeah.
And that that just pushes me away, because they just think they're superior to like us, or like make us feel small. So that experience kind of made me be like, oh, all guys are like that, maybe I shouldn't be friends with them. Like probably subconsciously I was pushing guys away in that sense. So yeah, I feel like a guy who can understand that girls and guys are on the same level, like no one's better than the other, that's when you can start to have like a normal conversation with them, and it doesn't feel like, you know, oh, I need to act a certain way around them. It's just like more natural.
Like more authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. A lot of guys, they see, you know, maybe they're kind of in this nice guy paradigm, which is a bit of a problem anyway, because it comes from the wrong place. You know, they're like super nice, but it's almost like so they can get something. It's like their only option, if that makes sense. And then they see that doesn't work, so they go the opposite, and they go like trying to be this ultra masculine guy, this alpha guy, but it's coming from the wrong place as well, because it's coming from insecurity, it's coming from fear, and it's coming from trying to get something. However, when you're truly okay with the outcome, like when you go and talk to a girl, or you go and just have some awesome social interaction, and you're not focused on, oh, I need to get something from out of it. You don't change your personality. You're not the nice guy, but you're also not the super alpha male jerk. And you're able to be like almost balanced, more authentic, because you're not trying to get something. And one of the things, you know, we talk about a lot of the time is being truly authentic, but it has to come from the right place. Because it's good to just say that, but it's almost like if you're trying to get something, if you're trying to get a result, maybe you want to go out and you want to maybe pull or have a cool experience with a girl, you're always going to be trying to change the way you are to get a result. But if you're going out with the intention of, let's just enjoy myself, let's have fun, let's put a focus on what I'm doing, not on the result, then you can truly be authentic and allow yourself to come from that place. And one of the things that I was talking about with my friend on interview, like I think it was last week, was the difference between a guy who is cool and a guy who is maybe comes off as creepy. And I don't know if you've had too much experience with yourself, but maybe with your friends or just being around that. What do you think makes that kind of difference, whether you've had it personally but also with your friends?
With creepy, I'd say it's when they don't back off.
Yeah.
So when they keep trying to push it, or they keep touching you and like the girl has said, no, please stop. Yeah. And they keep going for it, that's when it's like too much. Okay. Like when a guy is respectful, then you understand that he's got the right intentions. So it's more like the guy listening to what the girl wants. So if she says no, that means no. Like if she's inviting you through like the way she's looking at you, like from across the room or something, then that's like a sign. Yeah. But I don't know, sometimes it is hard to tell, especially if it's like a party vibe, because you can't really talk that much, so you don't know what the guy's intentions are. I mean, it's the same with girls. I'm not saying that all guys are wanting to pull. A lot of girls want to do that as well, so it's not like a one-way thing. Yeah. But I guess just like, I don't know, both being respectful of each other and like the space that you give each other, and just trying to like, if you can, get a conversation going, maybe just like a nice dance together or something, nothing too like full on at the start, unless if obviously that's what you're going for. But yeah, I feel like the respect is what... Calibration,
you say, like, one thing we always talk about is this idea, I don't know if the mic's picking up, just take that for a sec. One thing I usually say is this idea of calibration. And calibration is kind of important because, you know, like Laura just said, when it comes to, you know, what the girl wants, you have to understand that and calibrate to it. So I think it's okay maybe making one mistake. Like say if a guy comes up, he's a bit too full on, but then he notices that, he's like, oh, sorry, that was a little bit uncalibrated. My name's blah, blah, blah. Who are you, right? I think that would be okay because you would understand, okay, this guy saw that it came off bad and he calibrated, clearly he's a cool guy. He's just made a mistake, right? I think, and this is what I found talking to a lot of girls, having experienced myself, what gets a guy lumped in that creepy state is, like you said, when they can't understand what's going on socially. Which is why, you know, one of the things I always suggest to guys is don't go out drunk. Going out sober is one of the best things you do, especially if you can learn to manage your state, learn to be truly confident and grounded, even when sober, and not have to use alcohol. You can calibrate much better. Because if you're in that interaction and you're drunk, no matter what we talk about here, you're not going to be able to calibrate, and you're probably going to go too far. You're probably going to say the wrong things or make her feel uncomfortable. And you're not going to feel that because, you know, alcohol does numb you, and it does make you not allowed to feel this kind of energy and when someone might be uncomfortable. However, when you're in that situation, you're sober, so that's the first thing you can do. The second thing is just have this idea, we call it a statement of empathy, right? So say you do go out on approach, or you say a joke but goes too far, or you go a bit too pushy at the start, and you notice she's a little bit uncomfortable. One thing you might be able to do is just apologize, just say sorry, and then maybe be like, oh, sorry, that was a little bit uncalibrated, or sorry, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, showing that you empathize with her, showing that you understand her, and then just switching subjects. So what you're doing is you're showing what you understand, backing off a little bit, always be the first to back off, always be the first to give her space. Doesn't mean you can't push it, like if you feel that she's ready to go for something, do it, but also push and back off if she's not ready. Always look for the calibration. If she's not ready, the moment she isn't, come back. The moment she isn't, come back. Always calibrate. But the key is having this idea of statement of empathy, showing that you understand where she's coming from. I think you'd probably agree that when you do that, she can see that you're a cool guy, you're a normal guy, you just made one mistake, or you're a normal guy and you just didn't do it the right way as you should have. And then she can kind of forgive you and be like, oh, that's cool, and move on with the interaction. And I think it might be something that does show even more attraction, because a guy who's kind of super social would know how to do that, whereas a guy who's maybe not had many experiences in the past and maybe a little bit weird wouldn't know how to do that. So it kind of shows that you're maybe a cut above the type of guy who can calibrate, compared to the other guys who maybe are a little bit off, a little bit uncalibrated. I don't know is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that's right?
I mean, I also think, as scary as it is to approach a girl, I feel like guys should do it more often, because I don't know if it's just in the UK, but guys don't really, unless if it's in a club where they see that a girl does want to do more, then they don't really like to approach them. Whereas in America, a lot of my friends say that the guys are super outgoing and out there and are not scared to approach a girl and exactly. Talk to them. And I've talked to a few of my guy friends from first year, and they just keep saying they're just scared of what the girl's reaction is. They're scared that they're going to get rejected. But then the girl's standing there thinking, well, why isn't a guy approaching me? So it's a two-way thing. Neither of them want to do anything, but the girls usually don't want to approach because, well, for me, I feel like the guys are a bit intimidating.
And maybe ruins the energy a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that there's it's a stereotypical thing, the guy has to approach the girl, the girl can do it, but me personally, I'm too scared to get rejected in that sense. So I'm just I wait for the guy to approach me, but maybe I need to step out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a case. Obviously girls can approach, but I also think it is a big problem that guys don't. When it comes to that area, guys want to be known as being masculine, being alpha or whatever, but then they can't approach. It's okay, you've got to choose one or the other. And I think the reason that it is this way, that guys do approach and girls usually, don't do as much, is just because there is that energy dynamic between the masculine and feminine. And if a girl maybe approaches and leads, it kind of flips the energy around a little bit, and the guy almost falls into that feminine frame, and the girl comes more into the masculine frame, which isn't always as good for a relationship. It can be for some people. Some women are more masculine, some guys are more feminine. That can work for some people, definitely. But I think when you have feminine girls, which a lot of the guys watching this will probably be wanting to attract, wanting to go out and approach, it is kind of the due diligence that you should be the one approaching. And I think the reason a lot of guys are fearful is, like you said, rejection. The other thing is they don't know what to say. And this is why one of the things we work on, meditation, can be so powerful. It is, like you said earlier when we were talking about all the energy dynamics, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can say this amazing speech, something from Shakespeare or whatever, or something just really cool, really witty, but if you say it in a wrong way, if you say it so that was awesome, and you're head down, you're saying it really nervous, it doesn't matter how good it was what you said, it's not going to come off well, and it's not going to actually do anything for the interaction. It's not going to create attraction, it's not going to go anywhere. So when it comes to this, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the reason this is so important is when you're focusing on how you say something, focus on being really present in the moment and just allowing whatever it is to come up. The reason a lot of guys aren't able to do that is because they're filtering themselves. They're not used to just saying whatever it comes to mind. It's not that they've got a lack of language. When you talk to maybe your best friend, when you talk to someone in your family, someone you're super close with, you probably don't have an issue with what you're saying or running out of things to say. All you need to focus on in that kind of situation is letting go of that filter that's stopping you. Is this good enough? Is this the right thing to say? Realizing that whatever you say is the right thing in that moment, okay? And a lot of guys, they make the same problem, is to get way too caught up in what they are saying. However, when you do make that shift from not what you say but how you say it, focusing on your tonality, focusing on allowing it to come from that kind of present state, doing a lot of meditation can really, really help with this. That is when, first of all, it'll be much easier to approach because there's no inhibitions, there's no worry about what might you say or how to say it, whatever, because you kind of got that down. However, the second thing is that kind of fear of rejection. And when you have that, it can be something that's very, very tough to go through. One of the best ways is just going out and approaching and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and seeing that even when you do get rejected, it's not that bad anyway. It can be kind of tough, it can be a bit of a knock-on, but just like anytime I've been rejected, I've just looked at my hands, still there, still alive, still able to approach another girl, see if they're cool experience. A girl you meet for 5 seconds or 2 minutes or even an hour, if she rejects you, who cares? She doesn't know you. She's known you for an hour max. She's known you for maybe 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Who cares? Okay? She doesn't, define you. She doesn't know who you are. And it shouldn't have any adverse effect on your self-esteem or who you believe you are. Now, that's a good thing for me to say. It's a much harder thing to act out and to feel, okay? So how do you get over that practically? Well, one of the things you can do is realize that, okay, let's say you get rejected. What comes up? Maybe you go into your body and you realize there's a bit of pain, there's a bit of sadness, a bit of anxiety, a bit of fear, whatever it is, right? Well, once you get accustomed, and this is something you can do at practice at home, where you what my mentor would call watch for trains, where you literally just observe what sensations are coming up, what thoughts are coming up, watch them come up and watch them leave, okay? This is a basic meditation you can do that anyone can do. And what happens is when you just watch it come up and watch it leave, you start to realize that sensations are very impermanent. They come up, they go, they come up, they go, they come up, they go throughout a day, okay? So what this does is, say you get rejected and those sensations come up. Well, instead of being fearful, instead of being worried about those sensations, you're able to accept them, you're able to surrender them to them, you're able to watch them come up and watch them leave, just as you would when you're meditating. And when you're able to do that, it frees you from rejection. Because what's the worst that can happen when you get rejected? Well, you can feel anxious, sad, angry, all these kind of negative emotions. But if you're okay with that, because of meditation practice you've been doing, then there's really no loose. There's like really nothing that can happen bad from being rejected. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, I'm an overthinker, but I've definitely learned from my mistakes and tried to practice through that. But I've learned that, when you just observe things and you learn from past experiences, that's what helps you progress further with whatever you're trying to work on. So for me, I've tried to think that if I continue doing the same pattern over and over again, I'm never going to get anywhere. If I keep overthinking, I'm just going to be in the same negative state as I always am. So with guys, if something goes wrong, even though I haven't really had many experiences, if something goes wrong, then I'll just have to think, well, okay, this is one guy out of who knows how many. This is that they might not be the right fit for me, so I need to stop overthinking, thinking that this is the end of the world, that this is the only person. And I just need to accept what has happened and just carry on and learn from that experience. And with rejection, I think you don't have to, I know it's hard not to take personally, but you just need to think that this is something I've learnt from. Maybe you can take something from the event and be okay, maybe I should do this next time. But I would just say don't stop trying, because I think the more you approach girls, the easier it gets. like the easier the conversation will flow. Like you don't have to be like, oh, I need to have a whole speech ready of what to say to them, because the girls are also feeling the same way. Like we get nervous, we won't know what to say, but if you just have like the basic stuff of like, you know, how old are you, what are you doing, are you at university, what kind of work do you do, like talk about their family, their past life, you know, it doesn't have to be really complex stuff. You don't have to dive deep and be like, oh, let's talk about space and stars and, you know, all of the really, you know, full on stuff. You just, you know, keep it light at the start, and just like see where it goes. I mean, if there's a connection, then you don't really have to worry, because the conversation will flow.
Exactly. And I think that a lot of guys, you know, we talk about a good approach or going out and mastering it when it comes to conversation being, you know, interesting, but a lot of guys can overthink that, and they think that they have to go and they have to be perfect first time. But a lot of it is just putting yourself out there. You know, even if the first interaction you have, you're talking about, oh, how are you? What's your name? What are you up to? It can be fucking boring. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not about that first approach being the mother of your kids. It's about that first approach giving you the confidence to say, oh yeah, I'm still fucking here. Doesn't matter. If it goes badly, if it goes well, oh well, I'll do the second one. Maybe the second one you get a bit more confidence because you've survived the first one, didn't die. You know, despite what your feelings may think, you know, it's crazy, like, being, you know, before an approach, a lot of guys have this approach anxiety. You can feel like you're literally going to die if you approach. Like, it can be really, really troubling for a lot of guys, including me when I first, you know, obviously started this journey. But the truth is you won't. And when you just build that momentum, the first approach, doesn't matter how bad it is, you go on to the second one, you maybe do a little bit better, maybe you start getting a little bit witty, you start to get more out of your head, the third one goes a little bit better, the fourth one a little bit better, the fifth one, suddenly you find that you're able to joke, laugh, be super witty, be really charismatic. Because the truth about charisma is it's not something you do, it's not something you can learn or some technique you can add on. Obviously there's some cool things that you can do that make it a bit more charismatic, a bit more attractive, but it's actually just about letting go. It's about allowing it to come from you, allow it to come through you, you know. When you're truly present, when you're, you know, in that state and you've kind of got out of your head, that's when, at least I found in my own life, and a lot of people that I've coached, a lot of clients, a lot of people from my mentors, that's when you have these incredible nights, incredible experiences where you're able to be extremely charismatic, extremely attractive. That's when you're really able to get the kind of results that you want. And it's really about getting out of your own way, and you can't force it to happen. You can't force yourself to be in that state, and you have to allow it to come on to you, right? So, you know, maybe your first approach is bad, maybe the second one's bad, maybe the third one's bad, maybe the fourth one goes well, maybe you really connect with them. And when you do this and you just go and you focus not on the result, but on the process, you just go, you know, I'm going to go out tonight, or I'm going to go out during the day and, you know, talk to a few people at a coffee shop, and the first one, doesn't matter, I'm just going to, you know, the moment I said hi, I've already won. I'm going to focus on just doing that first one. Okay, I did the first one, awesome, that's a win for me. It doesn't matter what result, right? Putting the focus on just saying hi, putting the focus on just doing the approach. Okay, then the second one, you go out and you do that. Okay, I did it again, cool. It doesn't matter how bad or good it went. Third one, did it again, cool. Fourth one, did it again, cool. Fifth one, you start seeing yourself get better and better at it because you've got out your own way, because you've allowed the process to happen. Okay, and when you start to do this, you really allow it to happen. You really allow yourself to get into those states where you can become quite attractive. Now, one other thing that I wanted to talk about was, when it comes to guys, you know, with yourself, but also with friends, is there anything that's kind of like red flag or anything that would put you off?
I'd say someone who smokes.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big no for me. Not just from the fact that it's, you know, unattractive and smelly and things like that. It's just, it's awful for your health. I wouldn't want, like, my future children to be around that. It's impacted, like, my grandparents a lot with their health, and I don't want to see that happen to anyone close to me again. So yeah, smoking is definitely like a no for me. Drugs, no.
Any personality traits or anything that, like, yeah, any kind of like personality things that put you off?
Well, like I said before, someone who's really overly confident and cocky. Like, you need a set of confidence, obviously. Like, I wouldn't want a guy who's like really shy and doesn't know how to interact with me. But if you think that you're better than me at stuff and like always put me down about it, then that's a no for me. You know, like, you need to be respectful of my needs, and in that way I'll be respectful of yours. So it's like a two-way thing. Someone who's disrespectful to me, my friends, my family, that's a no.
Would you say like positivity? Because a lot of stuff, I'll just put it in the middle. A lot of the stuff you were saying was like, okay, they need to, you know, they can't be not overly confident. I don't know if confident is the right word. Maybe arrogant is probably a better word. Arrogant, disrespectful, putting you down. A lot of these traits usually come from kind of a bad place. Like, at least when I've had it, like, a lot of the most amazing people in life are very positive. There's like no worry that they would be doing those kind of things, you know. I know in my own life that anything that I've done, been overly arrogant, been maybe like a bit of a dick, those kind of things. You know, sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's just like me maybe pushing it a bit too far, but having fun, and it is coming from the right place. It just came out wrong. However, I know that when it was done from a wrong place, when, you know, maybe I was being way too arrogant on these kind of things, it was coming from insecurity, it was coming from fear, right? And I think when we actually heal ourselves in those ways and just become a generally positive fucking person who feels secure, who feels good in their own body, these things just come naturally. I don't know if you've experienced that yourself.
Well, yeah, I can definitely like tell from other people that when they're exhibiting these kind of like personality vibes that I would not be attracted to, I can see that they are hurt in some way. And sometimes I might learn that it's like they've got family problems or things like that, so they're compensating in different ways. But yeah, for me, I've learned that when I've accepted what's happening in the moment and not trying to like scrutinize every detail, that things just flow more easily and I can be myself rather than feeling like I need to put up this front or I need to, you know, I don't know, act defensive. Like, when I am defensive, it's because someone has hit a nerve in me and it's something I feel insecure about. So that's when I'm like, oh, I need to defend myself, I need to react, which is something I'm working on. I know that I need to not put my problems onto other people. I need to, like you said before, observe. Like, you see the situation and then you just let it go. You don't continue ruminating on it. You just accept what is there, sit with the feeling, and then work through that feeling to let it go. Because if you keep holding on to it, you're only hurting yourself. Like, if you're angry at someone else, you're only causing yourself problems. Like, the other person could be completely fine. Like, they're not feeling the anger that you're feeling. So by sitting with that feeling, accepting it, working through it, maybe journaling, maybe even just like going for a walk, exercising, you know, something to get that like energy out, is going to help you like progress further.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's so true. And, you know, we've been having this, you know, conversation that's kind of centered around dating, right? But everything we've talked about approaching, you know, fear of being rejected, fear of approaching, or, you know, maybe being too pushy and not being calibrated enough, maybe being too arrogant, these kind of things, we can all really be fixed when your inner world is kind of, you know, in a good place, right? That doesn't mean there's some external things that you can do. You can learn to be a bit more calibrated when it comes to being social. There's a few things you might do to make it a little bit easier to approach, change your mindset around that. However, when you're just a healthy person, when you've got, you know, and everyone has this, you know, it's not something that is specific to whoever's watching this or specific to me at Laura, but when you're able to just look inside and notice that, you know, maybe this kind of triggered me, maybe, you know, I'm maybe sensitive to when someone says this, or this kind of insecurity, or whatever it is, where you're able to look further than that, rather than just allow the mind to ruminate, allow the mind to create more stories, to create more issues, you just go deeper, and you might just say, okay, well, what's deeper than that? Well, maybe look at the actual sensation underneath, because most thoughts and most emotions are usually made up of both thinking but also a sensation underneath. And when we're able to just look at that sensation, just observe it, just watch it come up, watch it go, you're able to get to a really, really grounded place and be very unreactive when not only you socializing, talking to people, but also when you're alone, when you're just going throughout your daily life. You know, a lot of guys, and it is really, really disturbing, and a lot of girls have this as well, they might be walking through the street, and, you know, this is partly because, you know, there's a lot of young people, and when you're younger, insecurity is more rife. You know, usually older people have kind of been through that. But what are they thinking? Well, they're thinking that girl's better than me, that guy's better than me, that guy's taller than me, that guy is more ripped than me, that girl's pretty than me, whatever it is. They're comparing themselves, and guys do this just as much as girls. But I think the key is when you're able to go through that street, go through town or go through some city, and you see a lot of people, and you're not always comparing yourself, not always in that comparison mindset, and you're able to kind of heal that, observe that these sensations may come up, observe that they also leave. When you're able to do that and allow your mind to stay kind of in a grounded, unreactive state, a lot of what we've been talking about when it comes to being attractive to the opposite sex will just come naturally. It's not something you have to really practice. Obviously there's some things you can definitely do, and going out practicing is still good, but when you do and you're healed on the inside, you're not going to project that on the outside. A lot of guys that I've met, they maybe worked on this externally, they've maybe learned some technique or routine or what to say, but it never really worked for them just because they weren't healing what was inside. It was always, you know, they always say insecurities are loud, confidence is quiet, but insecurities are loud. And when you're in that state where maybe you're trying to fake it, the whole idea of faking it so you make it, maybe you're trying to come across confident, maybe you can do that for 5 minutes, maybe you can do that for 10 minutes, but can you do that for an hour? Can you do that for, you know, a few days, or even can you do that for a fucking relationship? No. You're going to eventually have to get to a point where you become this grounded guy you've been trying to, you know, portray yourself to be. And when you do that, when you decide to put in the long hours of meditation, to really start observing what comes up and goes, putting yourself through that cycle, and, you know, it's not for everyone, right? Some people are ready for it, some people aren't, and that's okay. But when you start to do that, that's when you won't be faking anything. It's not when you'll go out and you're not going to have to do anything. You're just going to be yourself, be extremely authentic, and you'll get 10 times the results you were, because that's just who you are now. You're just that grounded, attractive guy who's exhibiting both that masculine energy as well as, you know, playing around with feminine a little bit. But you're able to really, you know, come from that attractive place. And I think that's where most guys need to end up. And, you know, I've had this journey over the last few years. I've massively changed, going deeper in the inner work, especially the last year and a half. Doing tons of meditation has completely changed, going from just changing the external to now changing the internal too. I think that's a good place to end up and to finish on. I'm just curious if you had any thoughts on what I just said to finish up and wrap it up.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the fact that once you, what I've learned is just being grateful and practicing gratitude really helps. Obviously I'm not saying I don't have insecurities, I have a lot, but I'll try and change my perspective on things. And if I have those thoughts of, oh, this person's better than me, I don't have this and that, I just stop and think to myself, why don't I change my thinking and being like, wow, there are so many great people in the world, look at that girl, she's got an awesome outfit. Not thinking, oh, this girl's so much prettier than me, she has a lot more money. Just thinking, wow, good for her, she must be loving life. Or, you know, everyone has their own insecurities. You just need to learn to reframe your thinking, have a different perspective, just be grateful for what you already have. So if you're going out to approach a girl, then just be thinking, I'm grateful that I can move, I'm grateful that I can be in this club or bar, I'm grateful that I have the money and that I have the friends to be here. Just thinking of all the grateful things you have, and that way your insecurities will quieten down and you won't focus on them that much.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to end on. And one thing you did mention was, say you see someone that, you know, you used it in the case of seeing another girl, it could be seeing another guy that you compare yourself to. instead of coming into a venue, a coffee shop, wherever it is, or even just on the street that you might be approaching, instead of coming from a competitive frame where you're like, oh, that guy's better, this guy's better, oh my god, she's talking with these two other guys, I wonder if I'm better than them. Trying to come from a collaborative frame, and there's an amazing company called RST which talks a lot about this. When you come from a collaborative frame where you're like, okay, we can all be friends, there's a group of them, maybe there's 2 guys and 2 girls, and yeah, maybe there's the ego might say, oh, I have to be better than those guys. Instead, coming in and be like, yo, we can all be friends, a guy's probably fucking amazing, or a girl's probably fucking amazing, let's have an awesome time together. When you go, like Laura was saying, if you see a girl or a guy that you're comparing yourself to, instead of being like, oh, they're better than me this way, like you said, being grateful and be like, oh, isn't it so awesome that there's people like that in this world? There's people this amazing in this world that I can connect with, that I can be friends with, that I could have, amazing relationships with, whatever it is. Being grateful for that and understanding that as you work on this process, it's not going to be overnight. You might start this, you might see this video and maybe go for a week and it goes really well. Second week's a bit harder. Okay, but just constantly shifting yourself, constantly being aware of how your emotions are coming up and going, how your thoughts are coming up and going, constantly shifting your mind to being grateful, to being in a collaborative frame rather than competitive, and doing that over a period of time, a few months to a year, you'll start to see incredible results. You'll start to see that within a few weeks, but as you go deeper and deeper and deeper, it will just start to become more and more permanent. It will just become your new personality, and that's when everything will become easy.